starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. My name is Susan Reardon, and I call the meeting of Wednesday, January 13th, 2021 to order. First on the agenda is preliminary matters, and the first item is request for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, or ex-agenda items, and I had received no requests for any of those, so we will hear the items in the order that they appear on the agenda. The next item is announcements and appeals, and I have no announcements, and we've had no recent appeals. So I'll move on to the next item on preliminary matters, and that's from comments from members of the public pertaining to items not on today's agenda. And if you are attending this meeting and you would like to address the staff hearing officer on items not on the agenda, you can raise your hand, and if you get the screen, you click on the button with the green hand icon, and you only need to click on it once, and if it turns red, it'll indicate that your hand is raised, and I will call on you, and you'll have 2 minutes. And I see no one is raising their hand, so I'll close the general public comment, and we'll go to the first item, which is 1105 Del Sol Avenue. If Robert would like to click on his webcam now. And I want to confirm that the applicant is still present. They can turn on their mic and then turn it off.
Present.
Okay, great, thank you. So you can turn off your mic, and then Robert, anytime you're ready.
All right. Good morning, Ms. Reardon. I'm Robert Dostlik, Associate Planner with the Community Development Department. And the project before you today is for a front yard modification in association with a new accessory dwelling unit located at 1105 Del Sol Avenue. And I'll use the abbreviation ADU to reference accessory dwelling unit as we go through. And pardon if my camera angle is a little odd. I'm in a new office and splitting my attention between a couple of monitors. Just to get a general vicinity, the project site is located in the East Mesa neighborhood of the city, approximately 90 feet southeast of the intersection of Del Sol Avenue and Barranca Lane. And thanks for zooming in on the vicinity map. And to give a little background, existing development on the site consists of a 1,175 square foot, one-story residence with a detached 255 square foot, one-car garage. And as you can see in the color rendering, you can see the existing residence and garage at the end of the driveway here on the front page. And if we could zoom in a little bit on the site plan, Mr. Bolton, that'd be great. And so Barranca Lane abuts the rear portion of the lot and is classified as a public alley for the purpose of establishing setbacks. And a 6-foot interior setback is required from the property line abutting Barranca Lane. The existing residence is set back approximately 25 feet, 8 inches from the interior lot line abutting Barranca Lane. And a new detached 1,175 square foot ADU with an attached 245 square foot, one-car garage is proposed. And the project also includes approximately 80 linear feet of 6-foot tall fencing and approximately 260 square feet of new asphalt driveway paving. And a front yard modification is proposed to site the ADU between the existing residence and Del Sol Avenue. And this is the subject of the public hearing. Otherwise, no improvements are proposed to the existing single unit residence or garage, and no existing structures, trees, or significant landscaping are proposed to be removed. And just touching on basic zoning and site information, the project site is zoned E3 SD3, and that's under Title 28 of the Municipal Code, which is also known as the Coastal Zoning Ordinance. And the coastal land use designation is residential, 5 dwelling units per acre. And the properties surrounding the project site are zoned for and developed with residential improvements. And I'll pull up another exhibit a little later in the presentation that will show that. And for zoning consistency, the proposed ADU would adhere to all applicable setbacks, building height, and open yard standards. Per archive plans, an existing one-car garage plus one uncovered space provides the two required parking spaces for the existing residents. A public transit stop is located within a half-mile of the project site, and therefore no additional parking is required for the ADU. However, a one-car garage is voluntarily proposed to be attached to the ADU for this project. And to get in a little more on the front yard modification, so a front yard modification is proposed to allow the siting of the ADU, which would be between the existing primary residence and what's called the front lot line abutting Del Sol Avenue. And although the proposed ADU complies with the required 20-foot front setback, the zoning ordinance does not allow accessory buildings to be located in a front yard. And the front yard is defined as the area between the front lot line and the main building on the lot. And by definition, an ADU is an accessory building. The ADU would be sited immediately southeast of the 20-foot front setback, as illustrated here on the site plan. This location would align the ADU in a manner consistent with the existing building setback theme on both sides of Del Sol Avenue. And the proposed attached garage component of the ADU is permissible in the front yard. Although technically defined as an accessory building, the ADU would look and function like a main residence and would be compatible in appearance with surrounding development. And to touch on the proposed fence, there is approximately 80 linear feet of 6-foot tall fencing proposed within the interior of the lot to provide a physical separation between the proposed ADU and the existing residence. And the location and height of the fencing is compliant with the municipal code. And you can see the location of that right in between the proposed ADU and the existing residence. And for coastal land use plan consistency, the project would be consistent with applicable policies of the California Coastal Act and the city's coastal land use plan. The project site is not located in an area of high geologic, flood, or fire hazard, and it is not anticipated that the project would significantly contribute to geologic instability or erosion. And getting into visual resources, here I'll note a few of the aspects that tie in with the project findings and substantiate the requested modification that would promote uniformity of the improvement and also secure an appropriate improvement on the lot. The project would be visually compatible with the character of surrounding areas. The surrounding neighborhood is comprised of a variety of building designs with varied heights and 1- and 2-story configurations. And the proposed single-story ADU would be consistent with the building typology in the immediate vicinity. And the structure is proposed, as noted prior, the structure is proposed to be sited against the 20-foot front setback line from Del Sol Avenue. And this location is consistent with the building setback theme on both sides of the block. And with one exception, the entire block otherwise exhibits a development pattern with most structures set back 20 and 30 feet from their respective lot lines. And actually, Mr. Bolton, if we could pull up the last image on the photos document, if you have that available. Yes, so this is an aerial image of the block, and it gives a good sense as to what's going on in terms of the theme in the neighborhood. And also the adjacent parcel to the southwest, immediately to the southwest at 1109 Del Sol Avenue, is also developed with 2 dwelling units that are sited in a similar fashion on the lot. In other words, a front unit in proximity to Del Sol Avenue, and then a back unit, quote unquote, in proximity to Barranca Lane. And although in 2 separate parcels, the 2 adjacent residences to the north and northeast of the subject parcel are also sited in a similar manner as is proposed. And further, with a maximum height of 16 feet, the proposed accessory dwelling unit would be compatible with a mixture of 1- and 2-story structures in the surrounding neighborhood with varied heights. And Moreover, although the surrounding neighborhood does not possess a defined architectural theme, the design of the ADU would be compatible with the rather eclectic mix of existing building styles and exterior building treatments along both sides of Del Sol Avenue. And for environmental review of the project, the scope of the entire project can be found categorically exempt from further environmental review under sections 15303 and 15305 of the California Environmental Quality Act, more commonly referred to as CEQA. And design review, neither the ADU nor attached garage trigger design review at this location. And to sum up with recommendation, with the ability to make the findings for the coastal development permit and front yard modification, staff recommends that the staff hearing officer approve the project. And that concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Robert. I don't have any questions right now. If the applicant would like to turn on their microphone and introduce themselves for the record and then provide any additional comments.
Yes, my name is Tarn Shea. I'm representing the owner, Richard Ross. Thank you, Robert, for your presentation. It was thorough. The only thing I have to add is that the reason why we are applying for this modification is that building a new accessory dwelling unit at the rear of the property is not feasible due to how close it is to Bronco Lane, which is why we're asking for the modification. And
Okay.
I think that Robert covered the rest of it.
Okay, great, thank you. I do see that Richard Ross is here as part of the attendees list. Do you know if he would like to provide additional comments? Tarn? I can promote.
Not that I'm aware.
Actually, here, I'll
If
promote
he
him 'cause I
raises his
see him.
hand.
Yes, okay. Okay. There you go, Richard. I promoted you and I'm unmuting you. You can go ahead. Oh, okay, you're self-muted. You can unmute yourself and provide your name for the record and provide additional comments if you'd like.
Richard Ross. We've had this property for almost 30 years and we're anxious to build something here and make it a nice part of the neighborhood that we love.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't have any additional comments or questions for the applicant at this time, so I will open the public hearing, and I'd like to note that the public hearing is only on the modification, front setback modification request. State law states that the public hearing is not for the accessory dwelling unit, but it needs to be approved ministerial. But the fact that it needs a coastal development permit, then it does need to be reviewed by the staff hearing officer. However, there's no public hearing on that part. So if you would like to address the staff hearing officer on 1105 Del Sol Avenue, you can do so by clicking on the raise your hand icon, which is shown on the screen right now. If you just click it once, it'll raise and it'll be indicated by a red arrow. And if I see your hand raised, I will turn on your microphone and you'll have 2 minutes to speak. So if you'd like to provide public comment. I see no one raising their hand. Mary, have we received any emails or indications since the meeting started?
Thank you, Ms. Reardon. We have not received any written public comment for this item.
Okay, great. So I'll close the public hearing. Robert, if you'd like to turn on your webcam again, and the applicant doesn't have his, so that's fine, just so. See, great, thank you. I went out to the site and walked around the neighborhood, and I agree with your analysis, Robert, in the staff report, that the proposed location of the accessory dwelling unit is consistent with the development pattern along Del Sol Avenue here. It's set back, it respects the front setback line, which is nice. It's great that this property is so large that it can accommodate the accessory dwelling unit without asking for additional relief of the setback requirements. In terms of the coastal development permit, this area of the coastal zone really doesn't have any significant coastal issues, as pointed out in the staff report. There's no visual resources. It's not on a bluff top. It really represents infill development. So in terms of the policies of the coastal program, it is consistent with the coastal program, and modification that's requested to allow this accessory structure in the front yard. There really isn't another place to put it on the site. So therefore, I could find that the modification request is appropriate, but I would want to kind of pare down the findings, because typically the findings that I have just kind of lays the framework on how the modification is supportable. So I will be just reducing it down and taking out a lot of the discussion, but just basically the fact that it is consistent with the development pattern on the street, and that the project meets all other zoning requirements. So with that change in the modification, actually I would like to talk to the applicant. The applicant, there's staff proposed conditions of approval attached to the staff report, and I want to make sure that you've read them and you understand them.
The last form that was sent,
Pardon?
could you remind me, it was within the last set of plan corrections?
No, what it is it's attached to the written staff report that was prepared for this meeting. So it's attachment or Exhibit A, and it has the conditions of approval for the coastal development permit and modification. Many of them are just standard conditions in terms of what type of recorded agreements you need, and what kind of information or agreements or other permits need to be completed prior to the issuance of a building permit. And then it also has construction related conditions.
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. So I just wanted to make sure before I took an action on your project that you had a chance to review the conditions of approval and that you understand them. So with that verification, I could make the findings for the modification as I discussed the amendments to them, and also for the findings outlined in the staff report regarding the coastal development permit, and approve the project subject to the conditions of approval that is contained in the staff report. And my action on the modification is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt this warranted additional discussion before them, they can call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those actions would happen, Robert would contact you. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Robert. We'll move on to the next item, which is 712 West Anna Pamu Street. If Stephanie would like to click on her camera, and then is the applicant, I know the applicant was calling in. Are they in attendance? Who?
Ben Taylor is the applicant, and I just promoted him to presenter.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Stephanie. So anytime you're ready with the staff report, that's good.
Okay, and Timmy, if we can just go to page 2 on the plans. Okay, we are looking at a 10,035 square foot R2 zoned lot at 712 West Anna Pamu. There's an existing 8-unit apartment building that is non-conforming to density. By today's standards, only 2 units would be allowed on this lot because of the R2 zoning. The proposal includes legalization of an as-built conversion of a storage room to a second bedroom for one of the units and abatement of all violations listed in ENF 2018-00488. The conversion, and Timmy, if we can move to page 3. So there's the storage room. And essentially what happened is that door between the laundry and storage room went away. And then another door was added into the unit, and we can see that on page 4. There we go. The conversion of the storage room to a bedroom exceeds an allowable conversion on a lot non-conforming to density. Title 30 allows for 50 square feet to be added to an individual unit by right, but the bedroom in question is approximately 178.5 square feet. And so we do need a lot area modification to be approved for this configuration to be approved. This is also a non-conforming building to density and configuration as well. The R2 zone allows typically for 2 units to be in a building. And so we did review the non-conforming section of Title 30, which is 30.165.040.h specifically. And alterations are allowed. And in this case, there was no additional floor area constructed for the project. No additional units were created. It was all existing square footage and adding a bedroom to an existing unit. So staff is supportive of this addition. A lot of times requiring an affordability covenant is included with discussions of lot area modifications. In this case, because the proposal wasn't increasing the number of units and is a relatively small conversion of existing space, and based on city records, we can't confirm when this change occurred, staff does not recommend any kind of affordability component to the project. The project is also seeking an alternative open yard design since 2-bedroom units have different requirements than 1-bedroom units in regards to private open yard. And Timmy, if we can go back to page 2. Thank you. Alternative open yard essentially waives private open yard requirements in lieu of a large common open yard. The Architectural Board of Review has reviewed this proposal and offered support for the conversion of the storage room to a bedroom and the proposed alternative open yard design. So here on the site plan, we can see that the minimum 10 by 10 dimensions of common open yard are far exceeded. They're showing approximately 37 by 35 feet. And only 15% of the lot area is required for alternative open yard design, but in this case, approximately 25% is shown. And this area consists of lawn and a barbecue for all tenants to be able to use. The staff report included a comment that the ABR would be the decision maker for the open yard request. However, Title 30 does have a clause that allows the staff hearing officer to review the alternative open yard design with other discretionary approvals, such as a lot area modification. The alternative open yard design is not required to be noticed and can be part of the show decision today if you see fit. There are 2 findings to make, which are now in the chat. And so the findings in the staff report would need to be elaborated upon if the staff hearing officer would like to make a decision regarding the alternative open yard. And those 2 findings are, 1, that the alternative open yard design is necessary to provide flexibility in architectural style or site organization, such as the preservation of natural features, enhanced circulation, shared amenities, such as the barbecue and lawn area. And then also B, that approval of the alternative open yard design will meet the purpose of the required open yard as described in this section. And so as we mentioned just a moment ago, the minimum dimensions and square footage on the lot is far exceeded, and it would offer the tenants of this building the open space and building relief on the site, which is the purpose of open yard. So staff is supportive. And then in regards to environmental review, no reports were required, and the project can be found exempt from CEQA under categorical exemptions 15301 and 15305. That is the end of my presentation.
Okay, great. Thank you, Stephanie. I'll first call on the applicant to give their presentation before I ask some questions. If the applicant would like to turn on their camera and unmute themselves and state your name for the record. Is that Benjamin? I see Benjamin, your mic's off, but I don't see your webcam. There we go, I see you now.
Hi, try to turn my mic on.
It's on, I can hear you.
Oh, hey, hi.
Hi.
Good morning. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you, Susan. The only thing I wanted to add is that the building contained 7 one-bedrooms, and with approval of this project would contain a 2-bedroom, and that would add some diversity to the housing stock in the building and the neighborhood, which serves the community. And also, there's really minimal impact of this project. We're adding a window on the outside of the building that is consistent with the rest of the building, and it's really only interior changes. As Stephanie mentioned, the removal of one door and addition of a door on the inside of the building. So there's really minimal impact. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer, but that's all I wanted to add right now. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. And I'll open the public comment right now. I have not received any written correspondence, but is there anybody in attendance who would like to address the staff hearing officer on this item, which is 712 West Anapamu Street? If so, you can indicate it by clicking on the raise your hand icon in the control panel, and you only need to click it once, and the little arrow will turn red. So if you would like to address the staff hearing officer, go ahead and click the button. All right, I see none. Mary, have we received any emails since the start of the meeting?
Thank you, Susie. We have not received any written public comment for this item.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll close the public hearing. Stephanie, if you'd like to turn back on your mic or your webcam too. The main question I have is in regards to the affordability question, because I've reviewed lot area modifications in the past, and the ones that I have not required affordability conditions on relate to the addition of like back of house space. So it was laundry rooms or actually it's mainly laundry rooms. In this case, it's converting an existing storage room to additional bedroom, which does increase the density of the site. And when you look at the affordable policy, affordable housing policy and procedures document, that's actually at the Planning Commission tomorrow, but even the existing one, it talks about lot area modifications for non-conforming buildings that have non-conforming density. And in this case, it's really non-conforming to the density. There's 2 units allowed. I'm not sure if this property was built under a different zoning, if it was R3, but even under R3, without variable density and with variable density, it's over the allowed density of the site. And when you look at the affordable housing policies and procedures document, it specifically points out this type of request where the number of units is legal non-conforming and an owner wishes to add a room onto an existing unit, that they can ask for lot area modification. And it's viewed similar to as a bonus density type situation that you're asking for an increase in density. And so I was just wondering if you can explain a little more, Stephanie, in terms of the the thought on why affordability is not required.
Sure. So I do have the language up. If I could just read this real quick. It says such modifications, lot area modifications, are akin to a density bonus and are usually only granted by the city in exchange for recorded affordability conditions on one or more of the units. And so the key word there is usually. And so we looked at the project, and personally, I felt it was similar to a project at 406 Corona Del Mar that got a lot area modification in January 2019. And in that case, that was a conversion of a covered deck to a bedroom addition, an existing bedroom addition, and we didn't require affordability on that. Although that, in that case, just to point out the differences here, in that case, that was adding to an existing bedroom and it remained a one bedroom unit. In this case, it is converting a storage room to an actual second bedroom. So it's not exactly apples to apples, but similar in nature in that you're taking existing square footage and converting it. There was no additions, there was no expansion of the building footprint or anything like that. And we looked at, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So it's not a specific requirement. It does say usually only granted. It's not a requirement. And we felt that it's larger than what's allowed by right, but it is small in that it's 178 square feet. This happened sometime between 1964 and 2021, and we don't have definitive records saying when it occurred. And for those reasons, we felt affordability was not necessary.
Well, it's interesting that your example there is what I stated is that I have approved lot area modifications. Like it says, it's usually not required for like back of house type situations. And in your example case is it's expanding an existing bedroom. It's not increasing the density more. And so the density remained the same. In this one in front of us, it is increasing the density. It's changing the requirement. So, okay, well, thanks for that additional clarification, Stephanie. In regards to the alternative open yard proposal, it is appropriate. I went to the site and there is a large, like a communal area, which in my opinion, more than offsets the several units that don't have the open, private outdoor open area. But sorry. That's funny. That is a first. I didn't realize my phone was sitting here. I apologize for that. Well, as I was saying with the outdoor open, the alternative open yard area, it is an appropriate improvement, but I'm still struggling with the affordability requirements. And I see Danny is on the staff list. And Danny, if you could turn on your mic or your webcam.
Good morning, Mr. Reardon. Danny Kato, Senior Planner.
So you've heard the discussion, and you've been here quite a long time in terms of development projects and such. And I was wondering if you could add additional thoughts on this, because that's the one item I am struggling with. I agree. It is a good project in terms of providing more range of unit types for the city. But in terms of the findings I'm required to make, I don't see how increasing the density on a non-conforming site, how that is consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance without providing some type of affordability. Because the zoning ordinance contains provisions in terms of densities and what the vision is. It implements the vision of the general plan for the neighborhood. And so the fact it's non-conforming to those provisions and they're asking for an increased density without providing affordability, that's what I'm struggling with.
So let's take a step back for a second and let's talk about density for a second. This property is zoned R2. And in R2 zone, the density is calculated as number of units per acre. It's not size of unit, it's not number of bedrooms, it's just the number of units. 3 bedrooms, 10 bedrooms, studio units, they're all considered the same density in R2 zone. So, if we look at it from that standpoint, increasing the size of this unit and increasing the bedrooms in this unit is not really an increase in density. I mean, it's an addition. We have to come for this mod for lot area because it's new habitable floor area. So the mod is necessary, but really because it's already overdense and you're increasing the size, we need the modification. But as far as the affordability and your idea of increasing density, therefore requiring affordability, I don't see it that way. I see it from an affordability standpoint as it's a minor addition, more than what's allowed by code, but still pretty minor. Like Ms. Swanson was saying, you know, it's all existing square footage. There's no change to the building. We still consider it minor. I don't consider it an increase in density that would require affordability. Now, if this was an R3 zone or RM zone, and it was developed or requirement for, what do we call it? It's called variable density, where the number of bedroom matters. Yeah, that would be a different situation, right? So, but in this case, in this zone, I don't see that as an issue. And if we could switch to the floor plan again for just a second. You know, I mean, it's now a 2-bedroom, and if you know, when you were talking about the other example that happened in 2019, that was an increase in size to a bedroom and you were okay with that. You know, I don't see this as a whole lot different, but you know, if they just took away the wall between bedroom 1 and bedroom 2 and made it a giant 1-bedroom unit, would that make you feel any, I mean, you know, would that change anything from the way you think about it? It doesn't to me, which is why we didn't ask for affordability.
And you know what, Danny, thank you so much for actually clarifying that, the point of the R2 versus the R3, R4 zone. I was thinking of it in terms of R3, R4, not the R2 zone, which is unit count. So you're perfectly correct. And that's a great point for you to point out. And then that alleviates my concern, because I would agree, if it's not technically increasing density, and that the R2 zone is not regulated by bedrooms, then in this existing floor area that's being converted, I can make the finding that's proposed by Stephanie in the staff report. So I appreciate your additional comments, Danny. So in terms of, like I said, with the alternative open yard area, I would prefer that I make the findings. I'm sure the applicant would be okay with that, because when you're asking for a lot area modification, open yard is an important factor to take into consideration. And the design of the existing building or the layout of the existing building really limits where private outdoor living space can be provided. And there are 2 larger areas on the site. And I like the way the building's kind of partially wrapped around that large open area because it provides a sense of community, I believe. And so in regards to the required findings for the alternative open yard design, I could support that. And in addition, if I'm the one who's making the findings for the alternative open yard request, it would possibly then be able to go back to the single family design board and be administratively approved, since really the only exterior change is the window. So that would be a benefit in terms of less stops for the applicant.
Ms. Reardon, I just want to clarify Architectural Board of Review.
Oh, I said, yeah, sorry. Yes, it is the Architectural Board of Review. Thank you, Stephanie. So I don't see any proposed conditions of approval in the staff report, and I do not need to add any conditions of approval to make the findings. So with that, I will make the findings for the lot area modification as outlined in the staff report. And I will also make the findings in regards to the alternative open yard design, and I will read them to you. It says the alternative open yard design is necessary to provide flexibility in architectural style or site organization, such as the preservation of natural features, enhanced circulation, shared amenities, or the protection creation of scenic views. And that the approval of the alternative open yard design will meet the purposes of the required open yard, says as described in this section, that section of the zoning ordinance. So like I said, the alternative design is appropriate. It provides a large communal area on the site. So my action is appealable within 10 calendar days to the Planning Commission, and they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if the liaison felt that this required additional discussion before the Planning Commission, they could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those instances would happen, Stephanie would contact you. Okay? Thank you, Benjamin.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to the next item, which is 26 American Avenue. And Stephanie's the case planner for that project too. So if you would like to provide your staff report, that'll be good.
Timmy, we can hang out on page 2. Okay, so with 26 American here, we are looking at a 5,026 square foot RS 7.5 zone lot. It's developed with an existing single family residence that is non-conforming to the required front setback. And Timmy, if we can zoom in. So if we see the setback line there and a portion of the house and most of the existing front porch is within the front setback there. The proposal includes a small addition and enclosure of the existing front porch located within the front setback and construction of a new front porch. And Tammy, if we can go to the next slide. There we go. The new front porch is proposed within the required front setback, but it is an allowable encroachment as outlined in the staff report. What does require a front setback modification is the conversion of that existing porch to habitable floor area within the front setback. Staff is supportive of this because it's approximately 35 square feet, and it won't be expanding the nonconformity in the sense of the building getting any closer to the right-of-way on American Avenue. The project was reviewed by the Single Family Design Board with positive comments. The board did recommend adding a window to the proposed entry room, which we do see there, and is included as part of this front setback modification request. And then in regards to environmental review, the applicant did submit an archaeological report because the area is in an archaeologically sensitive area. The report concluded that there is probably nothing on site, but did recommend a standard recommended condition of approval related to the unlikely discovery of archaeological artifacts as included in the staff report. And that is the end of my presentation.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. Would the applicant like to turn on his webcam and provide, please state your name for the record and provide any additional comments?
I'm Greg Jenkins, representing Michael and Karen Sloan, the owners. And Ms. Swanson did a great presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have some.
Okay, great, thank you. And I see Karen Sloan is a attendee. And if Karen, if you would like to address the staff hearing officer as part of the applicant team, you can raise your hand. Okay, if you'd like to unmute yourself and state your name for the record and provide additional comments on your project. Hi.
And hi, Susie. I know you from Santa Barbara Christian School. Friend of Maxine. So I appreciate Stephanie's. This is the first time I've ever done this. I'm just really hopeful. I actually don't think I have anything to add. Sorry. I'm driving students around right now, so I'm kind of dual. So anyway, we'd love it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, great, thank you.
Nor was it even a
And if you could put the public comment slide up, I'm going to open the general public comment section of the.
Yeah, sure. I just want to let you know you had your mic muted for a little bit there, so we didn't hear anything.
I noticed that right beforehand. Thank you, Timmy. Okay, so if you'd like to address the staff hearing officer on this item on the agenda, it's 26 American Avenue. You can do so by clicking on the raise your hand icon on your control panel. And you just click it once and it will turn red and I'll see that. And I could unmute your mic for you. And I see no one in the attendees list. Mary, have we received any public comment on this item?
Thank you, Susie. We did not receive any written public comment for this item. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'll close the public hearing. I did go out to the site and look at the neighborhood, and this request, it's a really minor request in terms of the amount of encroachment. Front setbacks are, or front setback modification requests are generally reviewed a little more closely because it does have the potential to affect the public streetscape. And although it is private property, it still is, it's important to the whole setting of the immediate neighborhood. But in this case, as the staff report points out, the proposed porch enclosure doesn't encroach any farther than the existing building. And there is a new porch type element proposed as part of the addition. So it will mimic it again. And porches are a nice amenity to the front of the house. It kind of ties the house in with the street setting. So in terms of this request, it is a minor change and a minor addition, and it is consistent with the purposes and intent of the zoning ordinance. So, Mr. Jenkins, you've reviewed that proposed condition of approval that's in the staff report regarding the archaeological measures, and you understand and agree to it?
Yes, we have.
Okay, great, thank you. So with that, I'll make the finding as outlined in the staff report and approve the requested front setback modification subject to that condition of approval. And my action is appealable to the Planning Commission within 10 calendar days. And they also have oversight authority of all my actions. And if they felt it warranted additional discussion before the Planning Commission, the liaison could call it up during that same 10-day appeal period. And if either of those would happen, staff Stephanie would contact you, okay? Okay, great. And so that was the last item on the agenda. So I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.